Okay, so again, Bruchim Abayim. This is Breslov Shiur in Great Neck. I think Shiur number 4 we're up to already. We're going strong, maybe more. Who knows, right? So, so I just wanted to give a little hakdama. So in Meshivat Nefesh, we're going to see pieces that again, it's not very common in the yeshivot, right? There's a certain hashkafa. I remember when I approached Breslov, it sort of spoke to me as like a sort of policy, like an all good kind of policy, like everything's okay,
everything goes.
Like in a certain sense, like you have to know when you approach Avodat Hashem, if you come in and you're very tense to the point that you're feeling guilty and you're feeling nervous, it could very much hinder you to come close to the Borei Olam. A lot of things like this could seem like religious. It could seem very, with a beard and peyot, but actually when you come down to it, when you look at that psychology, it's actually it could be keeping you away from kedusha. I know a lot of people that I know that fell into the yeshiva system and they couldn't make it out on the other end because of whatever they went through, the hashkafa that they went through. It just didn't click with them, didn't speak to their soul. Initially, myself, I was also struggling. When I came to Breslov, when I came to Rabbi Nachman, almost in every piece you start seeing this attitude of like, it's okay, acceptance. Hashem loves you, and even despite the fact that you have downfalls, despite the fact that you have averot, it's a very important nekuda. So we're going to see pieces that involve with that, and then we'll open it up to discussion. We'll see what happens. Okay. So he says in Lamed Bet, he says like this.
Sorry.
He says,
Can we also want to dedicate this learning to Daisy Bat Rachel?
Should be like Ilui Nishmat Daisy Bat Rachel. Ruach Hashem Tanachenu Gan Eden. It says Veda, one should know Shekol Elu Hanafilot Vayaridot Vabilbulim, that all of the different, now you have to expand your mind, all of the different descents, all of the different bilbulim and the confusion and the averot and the one might go through, all the negative things, all the descents, so to speak, that a Jew has to go through in this world. He says over here, Tzerichim behechreach la'avor bahem, all of these difficulties, it is required that a person has to go through them kodem shenichnasim b'sharei hakadusha, before a person comes to the gate of kedusha, right? He says that it's something that is behechreach. What does behechreach mean?
Obligated.
Behechreach means it's obligating, meaning it's necessary, it's forced, you have to. It's part of the mechanism that a person has to go through a lot of these difficult scenarios. And then he says, v'chol tzadikim v'yireim Hamitiyim avru b'chol seh. You should know that all of the tzaddikim in the heavens, they've all gone through this. Okay? Now, Rabbi Nachman once said that in Chaim Oran, that there's certain tzaddikim in the higher chambers. He said you should know that every ascent, in general, every ascent, he gives a rule. He says that yerida letzorach aliyah. Before you get to aliyah, you always have to go through a yerida. We spoke about this last week, the concept of the bow and arrow. You want to shoot something high, you have to pull it back really far down, right? So he says that you should know tzaddikim in the higher olamot, they can only go higher if they go through a certain aspect of a yerida, right? Now there was a story once, if you guys recall, in Masechet Chagiga, right, about the 4 that went to Pardes. Right, there was 4 tzaddikim that went to Pardes, and it says that one of them died, one of them went crazy, one of them went off the derech, and one of them came back even stronger. The one that came back even stronger was Rabbi Akiva, as we know, which all of the Torah Shabbat Peh that we have is B'schut Rabbi Akiva. The one that went off the derech, which they refer to as Acher, because they don't even want to pronounce his name. His name was Elisha ben Avuya. Okay, Elisha ben Avuya went off. So the Mefarshim speak about what happened. What did he see that in the heavens, when he went up to Pardes, when he went up to such a high level in the heavens, what did he see that caused him to go off? So it says that he saw, that Elisha ben Avuya saw, and this, how did this story came out? It also came out when Meir, his student, he was a student, and he still remained his student even afterwards. When he went off, he still would follow him around and learn Torah with him. He was walking with him on Shabbat while Acher was on a horse, and they were talking and learning. Okay, and they get to a certain point. If you recall the story, they get to a certain point that his Rebbe Acher turns around. He stops. He says, "Meir, stop right there. That's the Tchum Shabbat." Right. So Meir stops and he sees his Rebbe continuing on with his horse on Shabbat, and he couldn't continue. He was learning with him, but he couldn't. So he started getting this feeling of tremendous chukah, of yearning, of calling out to his Rebbe, and all of a sudden he screamed out, "Rebbe, you could turn around. You could do teshuvah." So then Acher turns around and he says, you sort of have to picture this, how it looks like, Rebbe's like he's riding off in the sunset, and he stops for a second to say a final word to his Talmud before he continues to who knows where he's going. He stops and he says that what happened is that in the heavens, when I came to the heavens, right, there was a certain malach. It was the malach Mem Tet, one of the biggest ministering angels in the heavens, right? And he said that Shuvu banim la'avichem, that everyone should return to your father in heaven. And then he said, Chutz me'acher, and he pointed at me, besides you, right? So he says, how can I come? How can I do teshuvah?
I'm not going anywhere
I've been
anyway.
excluded. I've been kicked out of the chabura. So then the Baal Shem Tov comes in right there, and he says, you should know, right? Baal Shem Tov says you should know that was the final test of Elisha ben Avuya Acher. Right? That if he would have said to himself, you know what, Hashem, you're not letting me in the palace, you kicked me out of the palace, that I'm outside, the door's shut, so what? So I'm going to chill right here. I'm going to sit by the door until you open the door. I'm going to sit here and sing until Avinu Shebashamayim opens the door for me. Right? If you would have been able to take that rejection, it says, he would have come out even stronger, the strongest of all of them. Right? It's an unbelievable thing. It's a major lesson here. That there's a certain aspect that if you go through a rejection, if you go through this certain force pushing you down, to the extent that you're a tzaddik is to the extent that you can be able to withstand that and still look up. You know what I mean? There's a story I want to tell you guys. It's a very beautiful story, and it's very emotional. Actually, raised a lot of emotions inside of me that they said about in the times of the Holocaust. That these Nazis, Yimach Shemam, they wanted to more than just to kill Jews. They wanted to break the stamina and the faith and the hope that Jewish people have. Exactly. So what happened is that they're online, in one of these concentration camps, and these lines, after a certain while, they were getting so desperate. They were getting so desperate, the Nazis, that they were lining them up. That right when they came off these carts, they had to take off their clothes, and they had to holding their clothing like this in a bundle. They had to just walk into the gas chambers, and that was it. Shema Yisrael. They were korbanot for Hashem. So on one of these lines, right, there was a woman. I mean, this was a place for the women, there was a place for the men. On one of these lines, there was one of the women had this bundle of clothing. She goes up to one. Might have mentioned that. She goes up to one of these. SS troops, one of these ladies one of these SS guards, and she goes right up. She's standing there, and she goes right up, and she says, "I was wondering if you happen to have a knife." So then the lady thinks to herself, she would never give a knife to a Jew, but in this case, right, it's before they're going into the gas chambers. So she thinks she's going to use the knife. She's going to kill herself. So it's a good thing because she wants to destroy the faith of the Jewish people. So if the Jewish people online to give their lives al Kiddush Hashem, if there's another Jew that'll commit suicide, that's like a victory for them. That's like another blow in the energy of a Jew. So she gives this like devilish grin and she says, "Okay, sure." She takes her knife and she gives it to the lady. So it says in the story that all of a sudden the lady puts down this bundle, and in there is a new baby boy. There's a little baby boy in this bundle of clothing, and she prepares him, and she takes the knife and she says, "Baruch atah Hashem gam chalam sher kedishon misnos lachniso bevrito shel Avram Avinu." That you should enter into the covenant, and she did milah.
Can she say the milah?
Whatever it was,
There's no rules.
you know. She did this milah. And she walked into the gas chamber. Whether she made the bracha or not, you know, I don't know exactly. But that's the way I read it. And she came back up to the SS lady, and she gave the knife, and she said, "Thank you very much." And she carried the baby, and she walked straight into the gas chamber. Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine such a thing? Like the hope is gone. That's it. It's over. You know, you're walking into the gas chamber. What do you got to hope for now? You know, like what's Breslov doing for you now? You know what I mean? What? Ein tikva. That's what they say. What are you going to do now? So that is when the koach of a Jew comes in and says, "No, chas v'shalom. I'm going to hold on to the Borei Olam because I know life continues. I know if I can face rejection and still have tikva, I can still have hope in the Borei Olam." Then now listen, every single one of us in our lives, we go through scenarios, right? Constantly, the scenarios. You know, sometimes embarrassing things, sometimes a little rejection, sometimes something you want to go successful doesn't work out. It's an opportunity. You know, there's a certain Rav, his name is Moshe Charizi. He says that you should know that. He says you should. Sometimes we went through such situations, and he would look at us and he would be like, "Smile, guys." So what do you mean smile? He's like, because they're taking pictures in Shemayim. You know, Hashem wants to see them. Malachim want to see it. Like, what are you going through? Can you give a chiyuch? Can you smile? You know, that's if you can face that rejection, face a little something you want to go successful. Right? It didn't happen. It's all from Shemayim. It's not like, oh, it didn't work out because you didn't plan it right. This is all the ishtadlut. The Yitzhar wants to make you think, oh, if you would have done this, you would have done that. You would have spoke to this guy a little different. You would have complimented this guy. Shtuyot. It's all from Hashem. So you go through a rejection. So what? That's your mini rejection right now. You had little mini hardships. Hashem wants to see. No? How are you going to react? You're going to give up like Elisha ben Avuya? You're going to say, oh, there's no hope for me. You're going to mope? Are you going to be like a David HaMelech Jew that even his son is chasing him to kill him, his son? But he's holding strong and he's like, Mizmor, Shiur. Shiur to Hashem. You know, to find the positive in every situation. That's the midah of David HaMelech. That's the midah of Am Yisrael Chai.